Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler.
Good day to you, fellow lock shoppers. Welcome to The Lock Shop here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports, presented by Play Alberta. No Dustin Nielson today or tomorrow as he's off to Winnipeg. Well, he's in Winnipeg right now as he'll be calling the Bombers season opener, home opener, as they host the BC Lions to kick off week 2. I will be in with Huss today and tomorrow here on the Lock Shop. As today, we'll get you set for Game 2 of the Stanley Cup, or Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final, as the Oilers are in Florida to battle the Panthers. And then we will also look at the best bets for the CFL Week 2 gets going tonight. As I mentioned, Lions and Bombers. We also then this weekend will have the Argos and the Stamps. I think that's Saturday. Also on Saturday will be the Ticats and the Rough Riders. While tomorrow, Friday Night Football, will feature the Montreal Alouettes in Ottawa to take on the Red Blacks. Do want to mention at Play Alberta right now, we do have the EST specials, the early bird bet. Today is Edmonton winning the Oilers. That is on the money line. McDavid and Draisaitl 2+ points each. That is plus 325. And Dusty's play of the day is also Corey Perry with 1 point. He's been locked in on the Corey Perry point for a few games now. That's plus 100, and it has hit quite a bit. So a pretty good play. No wonder Dusty keeps going back to that well for his play of the day. We want to remind you of our promo codes with Play Alberta that are up for this month of June. And while I do that, I'm just throwing on TSN so I can get the U.S. Open going to the TV on to the left of me. Oh, I should say thank you to everyone for listening on TuneIn, iHeart, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, and Apple Music, watching on YouTube. For everyone listening to this on podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, the promo codes for this month. If you're into casinos, into the roulette, like some of the boys are here right now. EST Casino, when you deposit 20 or more, will get you a $50 casino bonus. When you deposit 20 or more and use EST Sports, you will get a $50 free bet. And YEG 50. And you deposit 5 or more, you'll also get a $50 free bet. So those are the promo codes. Download the app or head to playalberta.ca for those promo codes. The Edmonton Oilers plus 130 on the money line against the Panthers tonight. Over under still set 6.5. I did talk about this on the Hangout. As we wait for us, I may bring in Trev here for a brief second. The one thing I will say, like Stu Skinner's numbers in Game 6 are quite incredible. 6-0, 1.26 goals allowed average, 955 save percentage. If we get Stu Skinner Game 4, the under, less than 6.5, I think is very much the play tonight. Do you think we will get Stu Skinner of Game 4?
You know what? I do. I actually do. I feel like the Oilers, as we've seen in the McDavid era, they've had a hard time starting these series. This is the first time in the McDavid-Draisaitl era, this playoff run, where they've kind of asserted their dominance in games 1, 2, and 3, aside for the Kings series there. But I think that, you're definitely going to see that. And when the Oilers do kind of, struggle in that game 3, they really commit to playing way better. And it's usually a drastic game 3. And I feel like that's part of the reason why the game 4 numbers for Stuart Skinner are so good, is because the team maybe doesn't play in front of Stuart Skinner nearly as good as they'd like. And so they really rally behind him and they commit to playing a solid team defense in front of Stuart Skinner. So I like it. I'm not saying that it's the team in front of him. I do think they help him out quite a bit. But Stuart Skinner, in his own right, he does look a lot better, I think, in games 4 and in bounce back games, as we've seen. So, yes, I like this a lot, Maddie. I do. I think we're expecting a big game.
And if you get that, then the under to me is that play here. Maverick saying Huss wearing his Bombers jersey. And with that, let's bring in Huss onto the lock shop. Not in his Bombers jersey, though.
I got some blue on. I got some blue on today. That's right. I heard you guys talking. I forgot there's a big hockey game tonight.
There is.
Because we got the home opener here in the Peg, Bombers Lions tonight for the CFL. It's been a long week here in Winnipeg, Matty, waiting for the Bombers to get going after we got 4 games in the league last week, but I know that everyone's fired up for game 4 tonight.
100%. And we will, I think the majority of the show, we will look at the best bets for week 2 in the Canadian Football League. We did it last year on the Thursdays, you and I, for quite a bit too. I love these shows, so I'm very excited about that. But okay, I'll just, as I was talking to Trev there, Stuart Skinner in game 4, it's I think the best in NHL history. He is 6-0, 1.26 goals allowed average, 955 save percentage. Would you, and no one likes playing unders here, but would you look at that under tonight? If you're betting this game, or if you're potentially working on adding a parlay, because let's say Stu Skinner, if you go on those numbers, it's 1 goal. Is Bobrovsky going to let in 6?
Yeah, well, interesting way of looking at it. I mean, regular lock shoppers will know I don't play a lot of totals when it comes to hockey. I really like to focus in on the, usually on money line plays or sometimes on the puck line, but you do bring up a very interesting point. I mean, if we do want to run with the Stuart Skinner game 4, this is a lot more than 1 goalie, though. I mean, I think, Matt, as Trev just mentioned, I mean, the expectations are this entire team is going to come out looking a hell of a lot better than they did in game number 3. And I'm subscribing to that. I am on Oilers on the money line. I guess every game's gone over so far in this series, too, if we think about it. So if you were going to ask me to play one side or the other, I think based on those 2 bits of information, I probably would roll with the under. But I'll say this. I think the Oilers are going to need to be they're going to need to win this game one way or the other. And I'm not sure at this stage against this team, we could just count on the Oilers just not giving up any goals tonight, like has happened in other game 4s. And, to me, this is a game that Draisaitl and Connor McDavid need to have a huge bounce back. I mean, now we're getting down to the short strokes of the championship series. It's been great to get all the contributions that have helped them to get here. But I'm sure you'd agree, if this team is going to be dragged back into this series and get it to 2-2, we're going to be looking at the top dogs in that Oiler lineup to get the job done.
Yeah, and that's Dusty in his early bird bet today. He has McDavid and Draisaitl each with 2+ points, which is at times, when you're in these moments, when your back's up against the wall, this is where you really need your stars to carry your team. And that's what I think a lot of people are expecting for tonight's game. For you, when you look ahead to tonight's game between the Panthers, it's funny because there are a lot of people in Edmonton that are have been down the last few days because of down 2-1 in the series, how that game ended. But it's funny because if they go win tonight, it's a 2-2 series, best of 3, 2 games in Edmonton. The narrative just completely flips. What do the Oilers have to do differently tonight if they want a better result than what they got in game 3?
Well, to me, and listen, I understand that game 3 was sort of ugly on a number of fronts. But I do maintain that if the Oilers had some success with their power play earlier on in that game, we could have had a very different game and a very different conversation. The Florida Panthers you can take a few things to the bank. They're going to be rough. They're going to make you pay the price. And they're also going to spend some time in the box. The Edmonton Oilers have to take advantage of power plays tonight and get something on the board. And, listen, at 5-on-5, I do think that Draisaitl and McDavid will be able to generate more and make plays and get them on the scoreboard. But to me, they cannot be in a deficit position when it comes to special teams. And I thought that there were some opportunities that they had in that first period. I mean, they had some good looks. I think Edmund Bouchard had 5 shots on net by the time the game was 12 minutes old. And they just didn't go in. So listen, find a way to get to Bobrovsky. Maybe give him some of the business that the Panthers inevitably give to Stuart Skinner.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a McDavid or Draisaitl thing, but some of the guys. I mean, Corey Perry's been really good doing that. Evander Kane's been in around. But but come out there with a focus, a discipline, and an execution at both 5-on-5, but as well as on special teams that can help give this team the what they need to get over the hump and get this thing back. Because as I said, I do really believe that if this comes down, the Oilers win this game. They've got 2 of their last 3 at home. The Oilers in 7 looks pretty darn good. And listen, even if you have no skin in the game, let's get this to a 7th game. I mean, it has been such a great series so far. I'm not in any hurry for it to end.
The flip side, though, is like if the Oilers fall tonight, I'm still not counting them out. We saw what they did last year. Like, that's the crazy part with this team is that if it was almost any other team, I'd say 3-1. Okay, Panthers are going to get this done. But if they are up 3-1, I'm not like I see 7 coming still. Like I just
you gotta win.
This team loves their back against the wall. I think Skinner said it today at the Vales that the team just for some reason they bring their best and their backs against the wall. And I can't think of more back against the wall for this series right now. 3-0 was the biggest backs against the wall, but in this one, if you go down 3-1, that is real backs against the wall. So I still would like their chances in that, but naturally, if they're up 2-2, like just how the momentum of that series just completely shifts back to the Edmonton Oilers' favor after the Panthers, the way they've gone the last 2, it changes a lot.
The one thing that I'll ask you about that I didn't necessarily, I mean, as someone that has bet the Oilers, that is already on the Oilers in Game 4, I didn't particularly get a good feeling about was the way they handled their operations yesterday. What did you make of them sort of saying that they're not practicing and then kind of covertly going and having a full practice? I mean,
there's a few things I have on this. One is Oilers fans don't like me for part of this, and they already don't like me for part of this. One, from a media perspective, I've heard different things. Like some media were there. Just because you heard the players were day off, like just show up. Like you don't know what's going to happen. It's the Stanley Cup Finals. It's a couple of hours of your day. You could just show up. Some members of the media were there. So even though you're told nothing's happening, maybe just show up. Maybe you just sit there and do nothing. Like you don't have to be at the beach. Or flip side is,
would you be leaving the pool? Would you be leaving the pool?
Yeah, but I go down to the
this
is the other flip side to this, Haas.
Nothing's happening.
This is the other flip side. If I wouldn't leave the pool, or actually I would be on the golf course probably, I would also have the excuse to tell my boss at that point, they told us there was no practice. I couldn't do anything.
True.
I'm not going to complain that they didn't tell me. I'm going to just sit there and be like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I don't have a thing with the media. I understand where the frustration though comes. Like they have a job to do, and when they're told something's not happening and then it happens, it does make their job difficult. And no one cares about the media perspective, but in any walk of life, any job, if your job's made more difficult, you're not happy about it. So I do understand where that comes from. I was saying this earlier, and this is where other fans don't like me and they're upset with me right now. You don't play these games when you're leading a series. You don't play these games when things are going well. And so if I'm the Florida Panthers, the Oilers to me are sweating. That's what I think. I look at this and I go, the Oilers are playing a little bit of games right now with them and the media and stuff. We're in their heads, or we've got the advantage in this series. And it gives me a little bit of a moral boost if I'm Paul Maurice or any of those players going, we're in a good spot. Let's keep going. Like if the Oilers were going just normal business, you could sit there and be like, this is a tough series. Like we've got the edge, but we've got to do a little bit more. But with the Oilers now doing this, I think they sit there and go, oh, we've got a little bit more of an edge. We're in their heads because they're now playing games. And that's where I don't like what I saw yesterday is I feel like you've given a little something to the Panthers. And I don't want to give the Panthers anything if I'm the Edmonton Oilers organization. So that's where I wasn't a big fan of it. From the media perspective, again, I'll defend. I'll say, like, if you're the media, you don't have to whine so much about it. I do feel for some of them, though, because their job was made harder, but you could also either have shown up or you could have just stayed in the pool or went golfing and just not dealt with it. What did you make of it from outside this market?
Yeah, listen, I loved your take on the media stuff. I mean, like, I've just put myself in that position. I mean, the playoffs have been a long time. You said, hey, we're down in South Florida. We got this extra day. Oh, there's no practice. There's nothing going on. Great. And then, these companies are spending a lot of money to send these guys all down there. And this happens. They're not there. And that's probably an awkward conversation with the boss or two and whatever. But I do actually agree with you. Like, I do wonder, I mean, the Panthers that have been there, that won last year, that beat them going, oh, Now they're doing this right now. I mean, it just seems like they're a little bit off of where they would like to be. And you're right. I mean, if you're winning the series, you don't do that. Now, I don't really know what the benefit of it was, other than maybe Leon and Connor were like, listen, this extra day, we've said what we have to say. We don't need to get into it anymore. But it does, like, to say it reeks of desperation is way too strong.
I'd agree.
But put it this way, I think you kind of nailed it, where, you know what, if you're doing what you're doing and you're in control and you are where you are, and where you want to be, you're just going about your business like is going to happen each and every other day of the playoffs, like they've been doing up until this point. So I was a little surprised that it happened. I mean, obviously, if you're the National Hockey League, you don't like it very much. And this isn't round 2. I mean, this is the Stanley Cup final, and I think there is some expectation on organizations to do what they can to make their guys available. And this probably wasn't well. Is it a big deal? No. But I mean, we're only 3 games in, and it's a 2-1 series. It just seemed to be a strange time to sort of go to this covert nature. And you're right. I mean, I think it brought more attention on anything than if they would have just gone through the motion and said, these guys aren't talking today, whatever.
Yeah, like so many of the Oilers don't care what the Panthers think, Maddie. But the thing is, like, I'll say, if this was the reverse, if the Panthers were doing this and they were down 2-1 in the series, Oiler fans would be saying, we're in the Panthers' heads. Oilers are living rent-free in the Panthers' heads. That's how it would be looked. And so just because it's reversed, I think Oiler fans, they want to pretend that this isn't anything at all. And to Smitty, the Oilers may not care what the Panthers think, but you've given them a little something. And if the roles were reversed, Oilers fans would be loudly proclaiming that they're in the Panthers' heads.
Whose call do you think that was? I mean, is that Knobloch? Is that the PR guys? Or is that like Leon and Connor saying, listen, like, let's just kind of avoid all the circus today and get out there?
I don't know. Like, the media part of this, I don't know. Like, because Knobloch said, I think it's going to be a day. What I think maybe happened here was there was a plan to have just an optional or a day off type thing. And the optional wasn't going to be anyone skating. And then all of a sudden the players, because they have done this in the playoffs already this year, McDavid and Draisaitl are like, we want to skate. And they went out there. And no one decided to update the media that, no, there will be actually some players skating at this optional. Be aware that it's not just the Black Aces. So I don't know if it was like, maybe I'll give the Oilers a little bit of benefit of the doubt and say just the way, like, initially it was no one was going to skate, and then things changed. They didn't update the media, and they just didn't feel like they needed to. So this wasn't a full-on, we're going to get the media, we're going to pull one on them. But somebody should have recognized this maybe at a point and made an update. I think in the end, I would be just a guess, and taking the media part of this and when the avails, all that part of this, I would be hard for me to not think that McDavid and Draisaitl were ones that switched it from we're not skating to we're skating. They sat there and no, we want to get on the ice and we want to do a little something on that ice. That's the way I look at what happened there and stuff.
Okay, this is for the fun part, especially when we're talking about the Edmonton media. Do we have a power poll of who in the media was the most bent out of shape about yesterday's events? Like,
I know the two that I would put at the top. I don't need to get in trouble today.
How did Speck take it?
Yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah,
Speck had a tweet today, and I love Speck. I worked a couple years with him. I do love Speck. Here was his tweet though from earlier. And he had a picture of the ice before practice today, and he went, as Oilers filter out early for an 11:30 skate, the water bottle count hints at full participation. So he's one of them. But again, I'd like to, I think where you and I both are agreeing on this, like, okay, if you're Speck, if you're Ryan Rashog, if you're anyone in the media and your boss goes, why weren't you at practice? You have texts that go, well, they said there wasn't anything. And you could have had just a free day off in the sun of Fort Lauderdale.
I like this one yesterday. And I think most of the people just found out through Gene. And I would expect that Gene had to go record some stuff or whatever for the broadcast. So that's why he was there. I'd be shocked if anybody else was there just because, well, I'm going to come there. Like,
I saw a picture from Wyshynski of the rink.
Okay, so Greg potentially down there. Maybe he was doing something for I don't know whether the Panthers skate at the same place, not sure. But this was a great one from Spec yesterday. Oilers pull a fast one on the Stanley Cup media contingent, claiming an off day for the players. Then they skated. Subterfuge. You know what? We don't get that word dropped in social media very enough.
No, we don't.
He was there. But I do, and I mean, listen, it's always funny when media people kind of go crazy on social media. That's always fun and entertaining for people. I don't think anyone really did that in this case. And I do have time for these guys going, hey, come on. Like, can we just be on the up and up here? You're putting us in a bad spot. And now I had to explain to my boss while I was on the 12th green when I got a text that, in fact, the entire team was out on the ice.
You would never get this in the NBA. You would never get this in the NFL. That's the other way you could potentially look at this. Those leagues, like in Super Bowl week, you would not have a team practicing without the media knowing.
Zero chance.
That's maybe the other way of dealing with it. Or the NBA Finals, there's no way the Pacers or the Thunder are going to have a practice, a shoot around all of a sudden, and the media is not aware of it because ESPN would lose it in that moment, or TNT next year will be NBC and stuff. They will lose it. So that's the other part of this where this doesn't happen elsewhere. So, everyone's going to forget about this after today's game. They'll play a game and everyone's just going to dissect it and it'll be forgotten. But it added a little distraction, I guess it helped with an extra day off between games. It gave us something else that we could discuss. So, I do have to offline maybe go. I saw one of your Twitter exchanges yesterday, which I'm, fully on board with. I was blocked by him back in February and some other things have come up from that one. So.
Oh yeah, Mr. CFL, Luke Wilson.
Yeah, I'm glad he's telling us. I like how he's telling us CFL fans who are the best fans right now and who are the worst fans. The guy probably was his first CFL game last week in decades.
Yeah, I rarely get out into that, but you're taking shots at a guy like Darsh, and the ironic thing about it is that. From being a knucklehead and frankly a jerk on social media, he did in some ways bring CFL fans together. I had nice comments from Elks fans, from Lions fans, right before the teams play each other, even a Rider fan. So, yeah. Hey, whatever it is what it is. Hey, just quickly, did you see the hoops last night?
I only got to see highlights of it, but I'm stunned. Are the Pacers going to do it?
Well, listen, I was one of the many that got sucked into an OKC and 5 ticket.
Yeah.
That has been burned. And I kind of thought, okay, they had their miracle win in game number 1. But now I'm thinking, Maddie, this is what they've done in every series so far. They've pulled a Houdini and flipped a game early in the series that should have been a loss into a win. And then they just took care of business at home. I mean, the way that they stood up and really exerted their will in the fourth quarter last night, incredibly impressive. And I think once again, people just were not giving this team enough credit. And I mean,
and maybe too much credit to OKC because this is a team, they've had some good teams last few years, but they find a way to stumble to a degree in the playoffs. And maybe they're not there for, look, OKC still is the favorite to go win this, but maybe they're not fully designed for the big stage. They had a tight series against the Nuggets. Nuggets forced them to 7.
Went to 7. And again, this is that's in the midst of a dynasty. Like, they haven't won it yet. They've won a few playoff series.
What is
to your point? They did get pushed to the distance by the Nuggets. Like yesterday, after losing home court on the road going into game 3, OKC was minus 625 in some places. It's now down. There's still a minus 238. I mean, but you could have gotten the Pacers at more than 4-1 yesterday with home court. Now that's just south of 2-1 at plus 190. But I'm afraid that we're going to sit here at the end of this series going, we are such idiots. Like, the numbers they were hanging out on the Pacers were just there for the taking all along. And we're just like, no, they're going to come around. And so, hey, was it you and I that had the conversation about the Northern Star?
Yes.
award. Okay,
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this all week since we had that conversation last week. It is. I really want McDavid and the Oilers to win and SGA to win, because we will be talking about this
Yes.
all year. And then, of course, every single time you get an alert, Summer McIntosh has broken another world record.
That's a good point.
Now, she won it last year, though, and it's not an Olympic year. So that definitely
But if you're
makes
breaking,
it tougher for her to win.
if you're breaking world records,
Yeah.
okay, I'll say this. I didn't even think of adding her into this conversation. Okay, let's a worst case hypothetical. SGA doesn't win the NBA title. McDavid and the Oilers don't win. She might take it over SGA.
Yeah.
Because now Connor's out of that conversation. It becomes SGA versus Summer at that point. He's an MVP of the league, but she's setting world records.
And then let's assume that she wins everything at the World Championships. Like, there's no Olympics, but there still will be a World Championship of which she'll probably win 4 or 5 gold medals. And if she's breaking, like, I'm not sure what event they're at right now. Maybe it is the Worlds that she's breaking the records at. But the bottom line is that she's a phenom, and like, she right now is getting into, and I know you probably have to do this for longer, but like, it's Phelpsian like domination right now of her sport for Summer McIntosh. And normally those athletes don't even get a look in non-Olympic years, but then get a big boost in the Olympic years because of, you know, how big of a deal it is to succeed in the Olympics. But I gotta tell you, I mean, I just get these alerts over and over again, and it's I'm like, oh my God, she just did it again.
It's the Canadian swimming trials she's at, so she does still have the Worlds. She broke 3 world records in 5 days, which matches Michael Phelps for something like that. 3 world records in 5 days. That's a nice week. Hey, what did you do this week? I just broke a couple world records. No big deal. Did it say
what the event is?
It's the Canadian swimming trials.
Okay, so the Canadians.
So there's still the Worlds coming. So she could go, if she goes grab some medals, the gold medals there. It changes a lot. It does change a lot. Wow. I didn't even think of her now.
How old is she? Is she 18 yet?
Yes.
19?
She's 18.
But she's still just 18.
She turns 19 in August.
Okay, in August.
So we're then 3 years away from 28. So that's 22. So she'll be 21 at those Olympics, about to turn 22.
I'm just wondering whether she would have, like, how long, like, do swimmers usually go into their mid-20s or late 20s?
What is Katie Ledecky?
Ledecky had a really long career, but I'm not sure.
She's 28 right now. She won. See if I can pull medal records. So she won a gold in 2012, but then she dominated 16. She got a couple golds in Tokyo and then a couple golds in Paris. So I think you got till about 24-ish. You might have, I think Summer would have LA, and there's a chance when it goes to Australia, she still could be a contender.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling just with her total package and with the wins that if she dominates the next Olympics the way we're expecting her to do it, and it's a North American Olympics, her star is going to be so huge,
big time,
that she'll have some major opportunities to do, and she'll be ridiculously rich because she will be an absolute endorsement machine if she isn't already. I mean, the next 3 years heading in, I mean, she will be a cash cow for that sport.
You're a company and you want to get on board with an athlete going into those Olympics, that's the one you're looking at. She's who you need to get on board with because she's going to dominate those Olympics, or should at the very least. Let's get into week 2 of the Canadian Football League. Some line movement on this. I don't know if you saw the email. I did send out picks for the week, WST versus EST.
Oh, perfect.
So I sent that out a little bit earlier this week. So with that, there has been line movement. But let's start with tonight's game, Lions-Bombers. Right now, I see the Lions at 3.5 favorites. What's the feeling like in Winnipeg for the home opener, season opener? And a weird game because Zach Collaros will not be starting. He's serving a 1-game suspension for not getting in touch with the drug tester within 24 hours. Chris Streveler starts. I know you talked about last week with me that Dylan Mitchell wasn't looking good. He's scratched for this one. What's the feeling like out in Winnipeg for the season home opener?
Well, I mean, I think that the feeling is, listen, a lot of excitement, and there's only like 100 tickets or something left for this game.
Yeah.
It'll be another full house.
Which is awesome.
I think that might make like 8 straight sellouts for the Bombers, which is, I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. Listen, I mean, it's been a long wait. They've been kind of waiting through their week 1 bye to get after it. They are been preparing for BC. Now, BC at least has had some game action. They're coming in on the short week. So I do wonder whether there's a built-in advantage on either side. They'll have tape of the Lions. The Lions won't have it. But listen, it's no Zach Collaros. So I think what we're going to see tonight is probably a very different version of the Bomber offense than we might normally see when Zach is in, especially with the new offensive coordinator. I expect this to be a game that kind of looks like traditional Bomber football. Try and win the line of scrimmage, establish the run game with Brady Oliveira. Chris Streveler will run. I mean, I don't think it's reasonable to think that they'll have a similar passing attack that they would if Zach was in. It's just the differences between those two QBs. But the big question is the Bomber defense. I mean, I think there's a lot of excitement about this unit and what they could be capable of doing, but you're going up against a unit that looked really, really good. I mean, Rourke was moving the football around at will. I mean, Justin McInnis was the 4th most productive receiver for the Lions in that game. And I'll tell you what, he kills you with his feet too. I think he had 4 carries for almost 60 yards. So, I mean, getting big.
He had a couple big runs on second down, including one spectacular one where he got around a bunch of Elks for like a 30-some yard gain or whatever it was. And like they converted on 62% of their 2nd and 7 or worse second down conversions, like 2nd and 7 or worse. The Lions converted on 62% of those last week against the Elks. Like Nathan Rourke looks like Nathan Rourke. We didn't see this from him last year. He's the best player in the Canadian Football League probably now at this point. If he could keep playing this way. So that's the part that scares me is that, they ran the ball decently, but Nathan Rourke with his legs and with the amount of receivers he has, this is a high-powered offense. And then defensively, they worked the Elks offensive line last week. And that was a good positive part of the Elks going from last year to this year. Now, they did have an injury before the game of Brett Boyko. So for Elks fans, they hope that maybe it was just the injury part of this. But the Lions' defensive line was wreaking havoc on the Elks' O-line and disrupted everything that offense was doing. I'm with you. The short week's the only thing that gives me, okay, what's up with the Lions for this one? But it started 2.5. Now it's at 3.5, the spread. I do like the Lions in this one to cover that one.
Yeah, listen, I'll point out a few things. The Bombers are consistently the home team in the CFL. Did you know what Nathan Rourke's record against the Bombers is?
How many games has he played?
4.
Is he not 0-4?
He's 0-4.
Yeah.
And here's the other wrinkle to this one too, Maddie. This is Buck Pierce. 2nd game as a head coach. Coming into Winnipeg against a team that knows him as well as any. So, I mean, but it's at the same time, Buck knows a heck of a lot about the Bomber defense. Now, there are some new players and, it won't be exactly the same. But it's really intriguing to me. We're looking at, did you say 3.5?
Yes.
Wow. I mean, I'll take the Bombers at 3.5. Giving me the Bombers and a home dog. It's funny seeing how this line's moved throughout the week. Like Jeff and I got into the early lines on Tuesday on CFL 110. And at that point, the Bombers were 2.5 point underdogs, and that had moved from 1.5 when it opened. So listen, people are high on BC because they've seen what they're doing. I think sleeping a little bit on the Bombers, but look at the other line movement we've had so far. Montreal was +1. No Drew Brown. It is now 3.5. And if any lock shoppers were watching yesterday, Dusty and I were talking about this. I immediately went on and hammered Montreal when we found this out. And credit to Dusty. I said, hey, what do you think this line will close at? He goes, I think it might get above a field goal. Well, it's already above a field goal.
Well, it's at 5.5 for where we are. With Play Alberta, it's 5.5. I got on Montreal +100 at the start of the week.
Yeah, me too.
Like I saw them at +100. I would have taken the Als over the Red Blacks with Drew Brown playing.
For sure.
And then you take, and now I parlayed it. I have the Lions -2.5 with the Als +100 on the money line. I was stunned at that, where that number was. But yeah, like for us, it's now 5.5 where that line is. I think when I sent the picks between WST and EST, I have Montreal at -1 on that one when I sent it out. Like this line has moved. So with it at this high, like where do you come out on this one?
Listen, I mean, I think the Bombers can win this game. I mean, I think they've found themselves in situations similar to this before and have a pretty good track record of.
But Al's Red Blacks.
Oh, Alouettes Red Blacks. Listen, I was right there with you. As soon as I saw Montreal with a plus number in front of them, I bet them on the money line. And then yesterday, doubled down with them on a -1. Or was it +1? Or it was -1.
They started at +1.
Yeah, exactly. And like Ottawa was a slight favorite on the money line at the beginning. I mean, the plus number on Alouettes, I mean, even money for them to win was probably the early pick of the week. So that's wild that thing's swinging. I mean, as high as 5.5 right now. Or sorry, that was the Bombers Lions?
No. The 5.5 was Al's Red Blacks. Sorry. 3.5 for Lions Bombers. Al's Red Blacks has gone from, I've seen this week, is +1 for the Owls, went to -1, and it's slowly been moving. I think yesterday was 4.5. Now it's a 5.5.
I mean, that's a lot. Although the difference between 4.5 and 5.5 is kind of negligible. I mean, yeah, in the CFL more so than the NFL, you might have a 5-point game. Listen, I think I'm still riding with the Alouettes. I mean, I just think that this team is ready to go. And listen, with all due respect to Matthew Schultz, he's not Drew Brown. And I'm not sure that they're going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Montreal with him at the quarterback. So I certainly like them to win. I mean, 5.5 is a big, big move. But, I mean, I think there's no position that moves that more than that. So, at that point, I think it will be. The Calgary, why do you think the line has dropped the way it has? I guess, I mean, it's Chad Kelly, essentially, because it does look like Nick Arbuckle. He's been the one, like, I mean, Chad Kelly wasn't even leading the twos yesterday in practice, although he was out there in pads. But, like, Calgary was +140, I saw in the money line at the beginning of the week. I mean, it's dropped significantly, and a line that was 4 or 3.5, I'm seeing now at 1.5.
Oh.
For Toronto. What are you seeing for the CFL for that game?
2.5 for the Stamps, +110 on the money line. I love that. I just absolutely love the Stamps in this one. I'm not sold on Nick Arbuckle. I saw him here in Edmonton when he was a starting quarterback for a little bit. Like, he had the Grey Cup game against Winnipeg. Take that out of his career. This guy isn't a full-on bona fide starter in the Canadian Football League. He throws interceptions. He does struggle. Like, even just speaking of the Owls, the big 9, I think the Owls were 4.5-point favorites last week. They covered against the Argos. So a big line for the Owls against a backup quarterback. We just saw it last week. They can go cover that. So I'm not worried about that one going against the Red Blacks. I like what I saw at Calgary. I didn't know what to make of that week. One game against Calgary and Hamilton. Is Hamilton going to be better than, like last year? Build off of that. You and I talked about last week. We both thought Calgary's maybe a bit better than what people are thinking. I think we saw that. And, them getting an extra week, I think maybe they have to go out east. But if Chad Kelly was playing in this game, I'd be looking at the Argos. But Chad Kelly's not playing this. It's Nick Arbuckle. And like, there was a debate with me a little bit earlier this week where it was like, do you just take the points with the Stampeders to cover yourself at, where the line, 3.5, 2.5, 1.5? Do you take some extra points, or do you just jump on plus money with the money line? For me, I do feel really strong that the Stamps are just going to win this football game. That when I see a plus 110 out there, I love that. How about you?
Dude, it's funny that you're saying this because you're preaching to the choir. I, when the lines first came out, bet them on the money line at plus 140.
Oh, good for you.
So, and I've got a ticket that has Al's at plus 100 and Stamps at plus 140 on the same ticket. Now, I also have the Bombers in there on a much worse line. Like, it can go both ways. I think I got the Bombers at about plus 110. And as we look right now, they're more like plus 140. So, lost a bit of it on the other side. But it is, if you are into the CFL, early in the week when the lines drop, there is some, if you've got strong feelings on where the lines are, especially early in the season, you can really put yourself in a good spot by jumping on those lines early on. But yeah, listen, I like Calgary. A little less so, with the short spread. But as I say, if I was willing to bet them to win at the beginning of the week, thinking that Kelly very likely might play, I'm high on VA. I got a piece of VA at 20-1 for MOP this year. I think that Calgary can maybe surprise some people. And like we talked before, Matt, if you have a team that everyone ranked 9 out of 9, all of a sudden have a really strong season, make the playoffs, the voters are going to look at, what's the difference? Yeah. Well, Vernon Adams is the difference. And I think he garners maybe a little bit of extra support because of how he kind of got the raw deal last year, in addition to the injuries. So,
and defensively for them, like Tommy was doing the game on TSN on the sideline, he brought it up to me. They had 12 new starting players on defense. There wasn't a returning player on the Stamps defense from last year. That's something about the defense from last year. But you add on, so they've got a game together now. They're just going to slowly maybe get a little bit better as the weeks go on. And Toronto has a lot of new players, but they don't have their star quarterback with them. That's where I think they're going to take a little more time to get going here. And that's why I really like Calgary, even though they're on the road, to go into Toronto. And while there's, I think, 10,000 fans that get to BMO will get the championship ring, a replica. I think they're walking home a little sad out in BMO because I think Calgary comes in and ruins the party there. The last game of the weekend, it's another doubleheader Saturday weekend to start the season for the CFL. Before, I'm assuming the week after next week we get to the Sunday games, because I just love the Sunday game. Nope. We start Sundays, June 29th. We've got the Rough Riders out in Hamilton to take on the Ticats. The Rough Riders do add Kadeem Carey, but AJ Ouellette was practicing this week, as was Roland Milligan a little bit. Ticats coming in after a disappointing game out in Calgary. -3.5 for the Rough Riders. What do you look at this game?
I was impressed, I guess, with Saskatchewan. The way they played. I think Trevor Harris is really good, very workmanlike. If he's in the game, they'll have a good chance to win. Corey Mason's got a solid defense. But I have to say, I kind of expect and am expecting more from this Hamilton team. They have to avoid that miserable start that they did last season. And I don't know. I think that first week was a little tough for them coming out of training camp with the news of Ted Gavaya, who brought many of them there, dealing with what's been described as a serious form of cancer, which obviously is, something that you never want to hear. But, they're back at home, kicking off their season in their home opener. I think that is significant. And, we know that Bo Levi can sling it. He had a great season last year, numbers wise. They've got some new weapons, including Kenny Lawler this week. I think this is just too many points. I actually do like the Ticats, I think, to win this game outright, looking at them at around plus 150, but I bet them right off the bat at 4 underdog. I'm seeing 3.5. What are you seeing right now?
3.5.
3.5 right now. So I think with more than a field goal, Hamilton for me is the play. Would it surprise me if Saskatchewan won this football game? No. I mean, could they win by a big number? I guess. That would be very disappointing for Hamilton. But I think I don't want to put too much into week one. Saskatchewan escaped with a win over Ottawa. I mean, they gave up over 400 yards in the air and 2 touchdowns. I mean, Drew Brown had a big game, although a lot of it was in the fourth quarter. This is a great chance for Hamilton to get back to 1-1. And I think maybe there's been a bit of an overcorrection, shall we say, in the lines. If you're telling me Saskatchewan's a favorite in this game, I can buy it, but we're talking 1.5, not more than a field goal. So I'm rolling with the Tabbies.
That's where I'm kind of on this. Like, I think the Riders win this. Like, that's where my head was at going into this. But the 3.5 number is just a hard one for me to fully get on board with, because you've laid it out there with the Ticats. Look, I think there's some good that the Ticats could look on from last week to get ready for this week. They had a bit of a comeback. They got the touchdown. They went for the 2-point conversion. It failed, but had they got that 2-point conversion, they would have been 1 possession down. They almost had a nice little comeback against the Calgary Stampeders. So maybe that offense got what it needed to get going as they get ready for their home opener against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The Riders are just a banged up team. Coming into the season, they had a couple of old linemen that were hurt. Milligan was full practice yesterday, but he went down in that game. That was a huge loss. Ajo Ouellette was a full practice participant, but he's right now been a disappointment to me, largely for everything that he's done for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I don't think Nadeem Carey's going to be ready to go. Keenan Schaefer-Baker's going to be out. Like, I do still like the Riders to do this, but I think it's closer to like a field goal or something. But I also could see that the Riders and the Ticats, they could both put up points. So I was thinking of trying to a little bit of a lock shop parlay here. I had the Stamps money line. I had the Owls at -5.5. So I'm looking at 2 things here for the Ticats Riders game here. I'm willing to go Ticats, +3.5.
Yeah.
To cover that field goal. Or do we look at an over 51.5? What do you like? Where would you come out on that one for this one? And do you like the Owls -5.5 and the Stamps money line in there?
Between the two, I think I take the Ticats plus the points. But to be honest, I think that over is definitely live in this game. And when you look at what was there, 60 or 59 points in the game in week 1 between Saskatchewan and Ottawa.
Yeah, 31-26. So 57 points. And then Hamilton scored 26, Calgary 38. That was 64.
Yeah, we I mean, I like either, to be honest with you. I mean, I guess is it 50.5?
I could go 50.5. I could go 51.5. Maybe 50.5. Like right now, as I'm building this out, it's plus 580 to get the Owls -5.5, the Stamps on the money line, and over 50.5.
Yeah, I think 50.5 is a key number. Right in around there is where we are tricking. Yeah, I mean, if you like the over, I'm good on either. I would take the over, and I would take Hamilton as the home dog plus 3.5.
Beautiful. I think that's what I'll get done here. By the way, because of your help on this one too, the RBC Nick Taylor top Canadian, Shane Lowry top 20 hit last week. Boom.
That was beautiful. There's a lot going on. Hey, just
how
before
was
I
that?
jet. Oh, it was well. Once we got there, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And again, I was with Ange, who had they sponsor Svensson, so I think he had basically a couple players passes and a valet parking, which was great. It was just right in, and we were good to go. But Pat left his place at 8 to drive there, got into the parking line at 10, sat for an hour and 45 minutes waiting to park, and then once he was done, waited 35 minutes for his shuttle and was there at parking at 10, was not in able to see Svenny tee off at 12:30. Like the logistics early in the week were disgraceful. And I don't know. I mean, the people at Golf Canada, you would think, I put it this way. I left there Friday going, I don't know how they follow through with the plan to host this here for the next two Canadian Opens. So, I mean, I think they'll either look for another option in Southern Ontario or have to completely revamp transportation parking because, dude, it is way out there. I mean, it's a good hour, 20 hour, 30 from downtown Toronto. And then when you add in, I mean, it's a tiny little area. There's nothing around it. So
bring it out west.
PGA Tour event. Hey, speaking of PGA Tour, there has been much carnage at Oakmont so far for everyone except for JJ Spawn, who had a bogey-free 66 today. He's 4 under. Siwoo Kim is in the clubhouse at 2 under. Thomas Detry and Tristan Lawrence finishing up their rounds 2 under. The only other guys under par, Ben Griffin finished under par with a 1 under. And everybody else that's 1 under is 1 under because they just teed off. But you want to go down? This is the thing. So we've got a 14 over 84. Matt McCarty just chipped in on 18 for birdie to come in at 82, 12 over.
This is why I love this tournament.
It's so wild. I mean, I watched a video last night of like regular handicap guys playing this, and you could tell it still wasn't juiced up the way that it is right now. But it's a survival test right now.
I like seeing them tested.
If you get in at 4 over par today, you're probably pretty happy about where you finished.
What's coming up on WST? And we'll get into some golf tomorrow, I think, on the Lock Shop too.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see where things are at as we get towards the weekend. Former Ranger GM Neil Smith's jumping on today.
Nice.
Brandon Rowicki, Farhan popping in. We're gonna have a little Bomber Lions talk beforehand. Hear a little bit from Moshe and Strevler. Talk Cup final tonight. And all you Lock Shoppers, all of you other fans that were in my mentions talking about the Hart Trophy tonight is coronation night for Connor Hellebuck. I say that in jest. The coronation you guys want is after 3 more wins. I'm riding with you tonight. Oilers money line. But yes, there will be some happy Jet fans, myself included, because those futures that we talked about in November tonight, it sounds like they're coming in, Maddie.
Cash them. Huss, great always talking with you. We'll do it again tomorrow. Enjoy WST.
See you tomorrow. Go Oil.
There's Huss. Again, WST coming up in 5 minutes. Go check him out. Him and Remus doing a great job over there. I was on with Remus last week. So the Lock Shop parlay, I'll have to get this one up. Al's minus 5.5. The Stamps on the money line and the over 50.5 between the Riders and the Ticats. I have that built out at Play Alberta plus 580. So hopefully we can get a little bit of a boost on that one as well. Keep it locked to EST specials when you go to Play Alberta. Reminder on the promo codes with Edmonton Sports Talk and Play Alberta. EST Casino, when you deposit 20 or more to get a $50 casino bonus. EST Sports, when you deposit 20 more to get a $50 free sports bet, or YEG50 when you deposit 5 or more to get a free $50 bet. Jay will have his play a day later today as well. The boys and gals from the DGen Den will have the grandest parlay that we will throw up as well. That's all to come, so keep it locked to Play Alberta for all of that. The Lock Shop, it is proudly presented by Play Alberta, as is Edmonton Sports Talk. A reminder coming up next, we do have 2 guys and a goalie. It'll be Gage or Cash, joined by Tom Gazzola. We got EST Afternoons. We got the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Millen until 5 o'clock, and then Tommy will be live at Hudson Bourbon Street in West Edmonton Mall, as they will have the GCL Diesel him, Hernan, and Cass will have the GCL Diesel Oilstrom pregame show, getting you set for Panthers Oilers game 4 tonight. They'll also have the postgame show recapping all of the action. On behalf of us, I am Adam Wanek. Thanks for tuning in to the Lock Shop here in Edmonton Sports Talk. 2 guys and a goalie coming up in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.